morning and welcome to episode 10 of Coffee with Keith. My name is Amy Gruber and I'm Director of Enrollment Management at TASIS Portugal. And it is my great pleasure to introduce my colleagues each week as all of you families get to know them. Don't forget to submit your questions for us, which you can do through the little question mark function here on the webinar feature. So let us know what your questions are. Enjoy the webinar tonight. And Keith, over to you.
Thank you, Amy. Welcome everyone, week 10. That means 13 weeks until our students arrive. And for you parents out there, remember the good news. Teachers get the summer off, so hang in there for a few more weeks. There's light at the end of the tunnel, which is probably a good thing. I'm sure by now most of you will appreciate the adage, you can teach your own children math, or you can have a good day, but you can't have both. Before I introduce tonight's program, I wanted to pause and acknowledge something. Seriously. We all get wrapped up in our own lives and the lives of our children. We are talking about opening a school, one that will make a tremendous difference in the lives of young people, our teachers, our staff, even our parents. We feel really good about that. However, it's easy to forget how fortunate we are to have survived, first of all, this virus, to have the lives that we live, and not to have endured what so many others around the world are enduring. We need look no further than our TV sets and watch as nations rise up and protest against injustice and racism. We are mostly insulated here, but insulation can also be dangerous. We often refer to the civilized world and count ourselves among those who live in it. I contend we have a long way to go before becoming the civilized world. And that is one of the reasons we so desperately need education. All right, that's my serious bit for tonight. On with the show. Last week we discussed our e-learning plans, should we need one, which increasingly seems likely. However, we didn't have anybody from our early learning team on the panel. Tonight we're fortunate to have 3 of our 8 early learning teachers and assistants with us. And I want to take a minute to explain the TASIS Early Learning Center to you. The TASIS ELC is a separate, self-contained part of the elementary school, consisting of 4 classrooms, 1 multi-purpose space, an outdoor classroom, and an attached playground. They have their own bathrooms. The Early Learning Center comprises ages 3, 4, and 5. So in US vernacular, that's called pre-kindergarten 3, pre-kindergarten 4, and kindergarten. In the British system, kindergarten is called year 1, but that's just how the British are. TASIS will have 2 pre-K classes and 1 kindergarten class. And for those 3 classes, we have 6 experienced teachers plus 2 assistants who also happen to be very experienced teachers. In other words, the Early Learning Center at TASIS is a bit like owning a sailboat. It's a huge hole in the ocean that I keep pouring money into. No, I'm kidding, of course. This is where the magic happens for our youngest students who in many cases will be with us for up to 15 years, although a few may be released early for bad behavior. Now that I've explained the Early Learning Center, and before I introduce our panel, let's have a quick construction update. Right, there is no news other than construction continues on schedule, and that's all I'm going to say tonight. And that's hopefully all I will say for the next 13 weeks. A quick story before we get into the program. So I met a young lady this week. Her name is Kiara. She's a voracious reader, and she wanted to know about our library plans. And then was very disappointed to find out we will not have a traditional library at TASIS. So let me explain this. First of all, we love reading. We put an inordinate amount of time in our program for reading, language arts, writing, and speaking. We will have a robust public speaking program. And if you read my blogs, please tell me somebody reads my blogs other than my mother. Okay, she only browses them, to be fair. But I've written about the importance of reading and the importance of books. And with that said, there are more pages of fiction and nonfiction produced in one day on this planet than any one of us could read in a lifetime. And much of that, particularly the nonfiction that is published is out of date within a few years. So traditional libraries have become expensive storage spaces for irrelevant paper. On the other hand, we are building a learning commons in each of our schools, lower, middle, and upper, to better serve the needs of our students. These are large, well-lit, comfortable spaces for students to hang out, conduct research, read, do group work. They're meeting spaces, but they're learning spaces. The learning commons will have access to technology because every book, every journal, academic paper, piece of poetry, and work of fiction is available now in a digital format. And new works are published daily. We couldn't possibly keep up if we had to buy a new book every time something important was published. So instead, we will purchase a subscription to all of the top digital libraries around the world. And that will allow our students to access information that is new, relevant. That is actually how modern research is conducted. Have you ever heard of Encyclopedia Britannica? Our young people probably haven't. Basically, the first works of all the knowledge possessed on the planet was produced about 250 years ago. We have the Scots to thank for that. And believe it or not, all of the information was packed into just a few books. Then, even up to the last 30 years, a strange thing would happen. Your parents will tell you about this. People would come to your door, they would knock on it. You would invite them in for coffee, and they would leave you with 26 volumes of hardcover books with thousands of pages in each. You would have to build special structures to hold all of these books. In fact, people built fireplace mantles just to hold these encyclopedias. I know many of you think we built fireplaces for warmth, but that isn't actually the truth. So it is also incidentally why so many of the adults have crooked spines from carrying these huge books back and forth to school. And of course, we walked to school, we didn't drive, and it was uphill both ways through snow waist deep, at least in Canada it was. And so kids with greasy little fingers would copy each word from the encyclopedia onto a piece of paper, and then they would hand that in as their project. The world was so simple then. Then, in the 90s, which is before many of our students were born, and even before some of our faculty were born probably, someone had a brilliant idea. They said, let's take all of the printed information that goes out of date so quickly, and let's put it online. And so a company that you may have heard of called Microsoft did just that. They created an online encyclopedia. It had the name Encarta. It was amazing. Everything the world knew to that point was now digitized and put online. And of course, Encarta went out of business very quickly because somebody else had an idea to take all of the knowledge that people have in their heads and access to and get them to put it online for free. It's called crowdsourcing, and it worked really well. Soon this new resource proved to be more informative, more current, and more accurate than any of the pay-for-use encyclopedias. Excuse me. And of course it still is. It's called Wikipedia. Some of you might have recently copied information from there on a recent project. Why did I tell you this long story? You might be asking, other than I like the sound of my own voice. It's to demonstrate that whether we like it or not, the world is changing. And it's changing quickly, and information is both quickly and antiquated and highly ubiquitous. And that is why Kiara is upset with me. All right. I want to remind Kiara and others that we will have a fiction lending library in the school. Each classroom in the elementary program will have their own book library. And I am right now here inviting Kiara and anybody else who has an interest in libraries to work with me on developing the school book library that will meet their needs. That's my pledge. So on with tonight's program. Last week I acknowledged the hard work and contributions of our Early Learning Center Director, Carrie Trigg. Carrie couldn't join us last week for our e-planning webinar, but Carrie leads the e-planning at her current school, and she's here with us tonight. After earning her bachelor's in education and a qualified teaching certificate from Cardiff University, Carrie moved to Australia where she taught English at a private school and then later moved to Portugal. After 16 years at IPS as the Early Years Foundation stage leader, Carrie decided TASIS would be the best school for her to implement her vision for the ideal early learning center. Growing up on a farm in Wales, Carrie's own childhood, excuse me, I need a drink of coffee. Carrie's own childhood and her own young children inspired her to use her passion for teaching to develop a new school that would give children the best start in their education. She prioritizes play-based learning in a natural environment to stimulate student creativity. Now, Carrie is quite known in these parts because of her leadership in education and also because of her summer program, Dinchu Green Adventures, an outdoor school where she takes kids out into the wilderness and leads them to be eaten by animals. We are delighted that she's joining our team. Secondly, one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet, Nadia Motinho, currently teaches English and Portuguese students at a language center in Oeiras. Born and raised in South Africa by her Portuguese parents, Nadia has finally returned to their homeland after teaching in public and private schools in Johannesburg. She earned her Bachelor's of Education in Durban, South Africa. And as a fun fact, Nadia is a Disney fan and an animal lover, which I believe means she likes mice. And last, and also a product of Wales, her father was a humpback and her mother was a beluga. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. No, kidding. Bethany Thomas has a decade of teaching experience from both schools in the UK and Portugal, including her current school, IPS. Bethany holds an honors degree in geography and anthropology from Oxford Brookes University, along with a postgraduate degree in education from her hometown, also in Swansea, Wales. I believe I have now hired every person from the town of Swansea. Their unemployment must be approaching zero. Is that the case, Carrie? Oh, except your sister, of course, who I'll hire next year. For nature and the outdoors has drawn her also to Gincho Green Adventures, where she has been fortunate to share and develop another one of her passions, yoga and mindfulness, along with the forest school learning approach. Beth and her own children will be joining TASIS shortly. Now, I know many of you are anxious to know who will be teaching your children, and we are too. I mean, we know who will be teaching your children, but we're anxious to announce these people and put their bios on our website. But we are respecting their current schools and their current schools' wishes not to publicize that. So sometime later in June, we'll be able to have all of our hired teachers, and we've hired all of our teachers, and have them published on our website. So be patient, please. Also in our Early Learning Center, whose bios are already published, you will find both Yanni and Kat. They are the assistants in the Early Learning Center, but both of them qualified and experienced teachers to boot. So now on with question period. I have always some questions for our guests, and I'm going to ask them, and then they will decide who's going to answer first. Because our technical director, who's looking at me out of the corner of her eye, I see you, wants to know who will be answering so she can put the camera on them. Maybe you can identify who will answer the question. I'm going to start in the first one. We'll just go in order because this is an easy question for all of you. So why don't we start with Carrie, and then we'll go to Beth, and then to Nadia. The question is, why TASIS and why Portugal? Which is the question I've asked every guest, I think, since the beginning.
Hi, Keith. So I'll start with why Portugal. So I've been here now 15 years, and as soon as I came to Portugal, I fell in love with the culture and the people. And I was very fortunate, like you said, to work at IPS and develop my career. And I now have 2 daughters. And when I heard about TASIS Portugal, I felt this could be a great school for myself and my daughters. So I started looking more into TASIS and looking through the website first of all, and I really felt like the ethos really resonated with me. Especially the press that represents the school's values. I felt a sense of those values as soon as I met you, Keith, and all the staff at the school. You really feel a sense of unity and dedication from the whole school environment, and all the staff are very invested and collaborating together and learning from each other. And part of the TASIS crest symbolises knowledge, and this is one of the reasons I was drawn to TASIS, because the school's ethos really encourages students to honour knowledge and become lifelong learners. And I feel that strongly as teachers, it's really important that we help children to become confident and effective lifelong learners. And I'll be intending to develop this with my younger students by introducing learning power characters through stories and mindfulness. And as I start to develop these skills, it will grow a growth mindset, positive growth mindset, and children become lifelong learners.
Great, thank you very much, Carrie. Beth, why TASIS, why Portugal? And I know that the three of you are already in Portugal, but you might say why, what attracted you here, and then of course, why TASIS?
Yeah, so I've actually been here off and on for 12 years, and I was first of all drawn to Portugal by its very appealing outdoor life and the lifestyle and lots of opportunities for exploration and adventure and the rich culture. And after 2 years, I returned to the UK, and then I ended up coming back out here. So that's when I was in IPS, and then after that, I've been moving on to TASIS. And why TASIS? I feel it's a globally respected school, and it's very exciting that it's chosen Portugal out of the whole world to select where to be. And for very similar reasons that I've chosen myself, I can see that the school has selected certain key things. It aspires to bring out the best in both its staff and students, which I think is a really key thing for a school. And not only being supportive, but challenging. And I think, you know, that's something that in the classroom we always try to support, but extend. So those are key things, but mostly importantly for me, it recognises and values the vital importance of the early years and believes that providing a strong foundational base is imperative to future academic success. It's supportive in creating the environment which will bring out the best in the children, and along with that, numerous other qualities which we'll be discussing later in greater detail. TASIS also provides professional learning development, and an area which resonates with me personally was the visible thinking, and this is something that I look forward to developing and bringing into the classroom.
Thank you, Beth. Nadia.
So I chose TASIS because it's a new adventure. Not many people can say they started with the school right from the word go, so that makes me excited. I'm really looking forward to collaborating with these ladies and learning from them. And I'm excited to join a school with such strong values and beliefs. So yeah, that's from why I chose TASIS. And Portugal, because both my husband and I have Portuguese in our background. We have Portuguese in our blood. And although we were born and raised in South Africa, when we were given the opportunity to, we thought, well, it would be really exciting to come back to our roots. So yes.
Great. Excellent. Thank you all for that. Now I'm going to ask you some questions about your classroom. This is what people really care about anyway. Please tell us what your classrooms will look like. And I don't mean physically because they've seen those online, but what would it look like if a parent or if one of us was to walk into your classroom? What would they see? And Carrie, why don't you, we'll keep the same order if that's okay.
Okay. So in my classroom, you would see a sustainable classroom with beautifully arranged classroom with some specific learning areas, and all the children's work will be celebrated in creative ways, usually with lots of nature. I usually have a Zen zone with mindfulness resources. I like to have a friendship station where there's friendship potions where children can resolve problems independently, and a place where they can talk to each other about maybe some problems they've had in the playground. And it's a place where they can also calm down as well and calm their thoughts. I have lots of sensory and hands-on resources using lots of natural materials. In our early learning centre, we'll have classrooms with wooden furniture and a natural colour palette, and it'll be really creative, really comfortable, inviting, calm environment where children really feel safe and relaxed to learn. And the classrooms are set up for children to be really independent. I have open shelves with Montessori and hands-on learning material readily available for children to take and put away carefully with labels, and so children know exactly where to find things. And carefully selected books in our class library with a cozy reading area. I'll have a lifelong learning display with all the learning powers, and I have little toy characters that represent each of the learning powers, which the children like to take and talk about their learning. There'll be lots of nature and plants with a feeling of the outdoors inside the classroom. So a really welcoming environment where children feel really happy and confident to learn. You'll see also lots of organised mess during the activities. However, the children will be really engaged in their learning and really deep learning. You'll see children working independently and collaboratively, but they're very good at organising and tidying up after themselves. So you'll just see a very interactive classroom. We also have interactive whiteboards, programmable toys, and just a really fun but calm environment.
Thank you, Carrie. That paints a picture in explicit detail. Yeah.
So are we moving on? Yeah. So you find a space which promotes growth, inclusion, development, and strong foundation for future learning and problem solving. There'll be varied learning spaces which would stimulate knowledge and inquiry in all of the different areas of learning, including maths, English, knowledge and understanding of the world, social and well-being. And one of the main things will be emotional security. So the children feel when they enter the room that they are comfortable and the room is functional, so they can have some links with their home and their culture so that they feel like there's a sense of belonging in the room. There'll be visual displays of key vocabulary that we've been learning about, also to help any children that have English as an additional language or that are new to the topics, because we're constantly expanding their knowledge and reviewing previous knowledge. So that there'll be that along with the children's work, which will be presented in a way that the children feel pride and a sense of achievement that they can proudly show their parents or siblings and other members of the school. There'll be clearly labeled resources which are easily accessed, and lots of books so that they can explore and develop their reading, and also a role play area, which I think is really important, where they can find their inner dramatize and communicate with others. And there'll also be an access to the outdoor area so that they have that freedom to take whatever they're learning inside and outside, and there's a free flow between both areas. So the whole environment will be a very calm, but as Kerry explained, a very chaotic at the same time, calm chaos. Yeah, organized chaos.
That's a great answer. Thank you, Beth. Now, Beth, I might not have told you, but you're teaching pre-K, you know. We were saying the word calm a lot, but I wanted to remind you what you're teaching. Okay. Nadia, anything to add to that?
Sure. I think Beth and Carrie have really nailed it down. But yeah, exactly what they've been saying, the designated learning areas, possibly adding a theme table where we can display the topic or the subject that's being focused on for the week. And just getting our learners really curious and excited about building on their knowledge. And yeah, I think the classrooms are going to be beautifully furnished, and it's all going to be contributing to a safe environment where they actually look forward to coming into school every day. So I won't add too much more because, yeah, Kerry and Beth, you did a good job of that.
Great. Okay, well, those are great answers. I think everyone has a picture in their mind now of what they're going to see in your classrooms. I love the idea of the friendship station. We had one of those when I was young, but no one ever joined me in there. We'll move on now to next question. Nadia, you mentioned the outdoor classroom, or was it Beth? But we know that there will be an outdoor classroom because Carrie lobbied very, very hard to make sure that we built that. And but I have a question about the outdoor classroom, and maybe I'll ask it to Carrie. Aren't the students going to get all dirty in an outdoor classroom?
Yes, they will get very dirty, but you can wash away the dirt. But most importantly, the dirt you can wash away, but the learning and the social skills and all that messy play will help them to develop lifelong learning skills and all the different maths, literacy. We'll be doing phonics outside, and all these amazing learning opportunities are going to be so much fun for the children that the dirt just doesn't matter, and you can wash that away. And we will have overalls, so don't worry. So I'm really excited to continue my passion for outdoor learning at TASIS, and we've designed a lovely outdoor area for the children to learn and engage in, and all areas of the curriculum can be taught outside. We will have things like a mud kitchen, sensory and investigation areas, role playing, music centres. There'll be lots of maths and literacy, language arts resources outside as well. And all these sensory experiences outside really helps to promote language development and develop also children's self-esteem. I often see children really engrossed in their learning when they're outside for really long periods of time. And it's a really great social experience, and children learn from working together and also from each other. So I'm also a forest school leader, and we will also develop a forest school at TASIS. We have some land available to us, which is great. And I will be providing, as a team, we'll be providing forest school sessions every week. And this is where children can really develop their self-esteem and take ownership of these sessions. And these activities really enable children to challenge themselves. They are free to choose a lot of the activities that they like to take part in their own time and in their own way. And these forest school sessions really motivate children to explore their own interests and learn in a way that suits their learning style. And play is also a really big part of our forest school programme. Play really allows children to use their creativity while developing their imagination, their dexterity and physical and cognitive and emotional strength. So we're very fortunate to have this outdoor classroom and forest school for these early learning children.
Great, thank you, Carrie. And I believe you have quite a strong record with the forest school program. You bring more than 90% of the students back at the end of the day, I believe. Is that correct? More than 90%, so that's great. So maybe we'll ask, and I'll ask Beth the next question. What is your approach to working with parents, and how much communication should they expect from their early learning center teachers?
Okay, so working with parents is absolutely vital to finding the balance between the home and the school lives. And what we will be developing at TASIS will be the open door approach, where parents feel free and welcome to come in to speak with the teachers whenever they need. They can also email. There'll be apps that will be developed to share learning and opportunities that arise during the day. So there'll always be a free flow of communication and liaising with each other to ensure that we're meeting every area of the child's needs. We also, a thing that I've enjoyed doing in the past is inviting parents in to share their own skills and knowledge and interests. And it gives children a really wonderful opportunity to see their parents in a different light and learn interesting things that they may not know about their own parents. And it will give the parents an opportunity to come into school and enhance their own child's learning along with the teachers and their peers. So we'll find ways to utilize these precious human resources as best as we can in our classrooms and create opportunities to develop our own topics with the help of the parents. And I think that's something that's a really important thing. So yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like, Beth, it sounds like your approach is an open door approach to parents with lots of communication, regular communication through a variety of mediums. Nadia, do you have anything to add to that?
I agree with Beth, and just to say that, just to emphasize the importance of parents and teachers working as a team. because at the end of the day, we share a common goal, and that's wanting the best for the children. And so we need to support each other throughout the year and on a continuous basis.
Great. As you know, the TASIS Parent Association is going to be a big part of our school, and we hope to work very closely with them for the best outcomes in the school, and that includes in the classroom. So I'm delighted to hear that you're all open to that. I think that was part of the interview question that I asked you some time ago anyway, so I suspected your answers. Next question. Now, you've all come from traditional schools, traditional background, but we do have a number of teachers in the Early Learning Center who are Montessori trained. So there will be an interesting combination of Montessori and traditional approaches in the Early Learning Center. Has the team had a chance to get together and talk about how that blended approach might best serve student learning? And maybe Carrie, you can kick that off, or anybody, but.
Yeah. Yes, we've been talking lots about it, collaborating together, discussing all the different benefits and experiences and all the different teaching styles. But we are really united on our approach to play-based learning and creative learning opportunities that really develop the child's interest and their different learning styles. So with all the teachers, we want to develop and provide a holistic approach that really encourages a love of learning through lots of independent choices, which is very much the Montessori style, as well as collaborative opportunities and critical thinking. So like the Montessori approach, children will be able to follow their own interests at their own pace, but also work collaboratively together and do group work. We will be in different classes, different ages. The Montessori would have the 3 and 6 all joined together. However, because we have the outdoor learning and the forest school, the children will be learning together outside, learning from each other. So we've got a real mix, and it's a great blend together. There's going to be lots of observations between us, and we'll be having teachers maybe work individually with a child, creating their next steps in their learning. And it's going to be great to have so many teachers working together and assessing the children's needs and stretching their abilities and their interests. So we will have always next steps of learning continuously. We'll have learning journeys available, which will also go back and forth to home. I know Beth and Nadia want to talk about how the learning environment of Montessori is going to be implemented in the learning centre as well. Beth, would you like to talk about it?
Sorry. So each area in the Early Learning Centre has been really thoughtfully planned to help build a relationship between human development, learning and the environment. So Kerry's been really busy ordering some Montessori resources and to include lots of practical life and sensorial opportunities for the children. And we believe that the children learn the best by doing and should have the opportunity to move freely around the environment. And this was why it was so important to design and enable the children to move among the outdoor learning area, the class libraries, and the sensory and multipurpose rooms. So each class is going to contain learning areas for children to navigate and participate in a variety of directed and child-centered learning opportunities. And we feel that the structure of this learning environment helps children to develop organizational and time management skills. And that will essentially lead to independence.
And I was just going to sum it all up and say that, the big advantage of blended approach, I guess, is that the needs of the holistic child are more likely to be met, giving more support to learners and enabling them to actually reach their full potential. So we're excited to go with this approach. Yeah.
That was brilliant. Thank you. Now, you said something that I want to pick up on. This will be the last question for me, then we'll open it up to our audience. But we have a unique teaching model. I don't know of any other school that has 2 qualified teachers in each class, plus an assistant who's also a qualified teacher. So in effect, there are 3 teachers in each classroom. But I know that this will be new to each of you, so you're going to have to manage co-teaching. But what are the advantages of this model in your mind?
I think I'll go first if everyone's okay with that. Yeah, I can only really see pros to this model because it's beneficial to both the teachers and to the learners. For the teachers, it allows for personal growth, and it's so important that we continuously sharing ideas and new possibilities and learning from each other. And then from the learners, they have more opportunity for individual support and attention. Learners will also be exposed to more teaching and learning strategies, which will in turn allow us to work on those strengths and develop those strengths and also work on the weaknesses. So I for one am really excited about it, even though I haven't done it formally in a school before that I've taught at. I'm really excited to do it at TASIS.
Okay, that's great. I think what we'll do, I know you all have a lot more to add, but let's move on to the questions. Amy's been curating probably a long list from our listening audience, so I'll hand over to Amy to ask those questions.
Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Beth and Nadia and Carrie. We do have a number of questions. I'd like Keith and Carrie together, perhaps, to tackle the first one, because I think we've got some confusion here. One of our enrolled parents said, I remember Keith saying that child-led learning was inappropriate because they don't know what's best for them. Carrie and Beth are talking about children having choices. How do you square this, or am I misunderstanding?
I never said that. No, I'm kidding. Yes, we certainly do talk about that. And when I said that, I wasn't directly referring to the Early Learning Center. The young people, the 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds, are a slightly different paradigm than older students. When I talked about that, I was referring more to lower elementary and middle school, where many approaches are very liberal, for lack of a better term, and student self-directed study is very much in vogue. And I've talked about how that can be a great way to learn, but it can be highly inefficient, and that students need a lot of direction from their teachers. So they can still have a choice, but they need direction once they've made that choice, so they don't squander all of their time. They need it. I've talked frequently about the apprenticeship model, standing beside an expert and learning from them, watching how they do it, taking advice from them. And that's what we're talking about in this model as well. A student can have a choice, but can also get direction once they've made that choice. And that probably applies a little less, to be honest with you, to the Early Learning Center, which does have a lot of play-based activity. At 3 years old, students can't focus for many, many hours on academic subjects. So we need to intersperse play and other activities which don't build necessarily academic prowess, but they build social and emotional opportunity for young people, which is really important for them to learn at that age. So I'll let Carrie jump in as well.
So yes, there will be teacher-led activities as well, alongside the children's own curiosity and their own interests we will be developing. But especially in kindergarten, when they get a bit old, when they get older, and even when they're in pre-K, when they're 4 and 5, we will start doing more teacher-led activities, but using still manipulatives, some play-based learning, which will help them to explore and be really active learning and creative, creating and thinking critically. So there will be a good balance. And as they get older, as they move through the Early Learning Centre, they'll become more teacher-led activities, but there will still be time for child-initiated activities as well.
Thank you.
Sorry, I would add, Amy, that we also have a slightly longer day for our Early Learning Center than many schools. So that will provide more opportunities for students to endeavor into some choice-based activities versus teacher-directed.
Thank you. And I think it's important to add that there is a curriculum in the Early Learning Center, just like there is for every grade level at TASIS school. And so it may be delivered in a different way that's age appropriate for all of our young learners. But for example, this is a great question from David, one of our enrolled dads, and he wants to know if students will be starting with Singapore math even in pre-kindergarten.
Carrie, do you want to answer that?
Yes. So yes, we will be doing Singapore maths. I am very happy to be doing Singapore maths. It's something that I've always wanted to be able to teach, and I really look forward to all the training. And you know, the Montessori curriculum is also very similar in having concrete, pictorial, and abstract, developing the understanding of maths through building on existing knowledge. So we will be doing Singapore maths.
Thank you. And this question, I think all of you will enjoy. First of all, the parent writes, hello to all three. I can't wait to meet you in person. I'd love to hear from some specific examples on how they will be promoting a growth mindset in preschool and kindergarten. Also, how will misbehavior be handled?
So, and I'll just introduce that for parents who aren't aware of the growth mindset. The growth mindset comes from the idea that we don't have fixed intelligence. Intelligence is a variable part of each individual that can be developed in specific ways, which is really the driver behind our entire approach to curriculum. It's why we introduce things like the violin and coding and yoga and chess. We believe that people do have, in part, innate ability, but that innate ability can be grown and nurtured and expanded. And the science behind all of that is very clear. Brain is not a static instrument. It has potential for growth all through our lifetime. So that's the explanation of approaching young people with a growth mindset. And then I'll let the experts in the room talk about that in their early learning center.
I'll suggest we start with Bethan.
Okay, so developing a growth mindset is actually, sorry, I'm not sure if I was live then. So developing a growth mindset is almost, you're changing the way that you're talking with the children, the way that you question them and get them to almost change the way that they believe that they have the opportunity to expand their self. It's a really powerful and amazing way to learn and to teach, and we do this throughout the day with the way that we can talk to ourselves and to our children. And so we build with activities that can promote this on a daily basis.
Amy, I'm just going to add that this is also tied to something Bethan talked about earlier and Erica Harrow talked about many weeks ago, which is our visible thinking approach. And so the visible thinking approach at its core, it's a series of routines, but at its core, it's thinking about how we think. It's metacognitive activity. Why do I think this way? Why is my pattern of thinking this way? What are my biases that are implicit in the way I'm thinking? How do I correct those? How do I approach critical thinking with a clear mind versus a preconceived way of thinking or notion? All of that is going to be tied up into our visible thinking routines, and young people will see, because it'll be visible, here's what I thought, then here's what I've learned, here's what I think now. And that's an important part for, well, honestly, important thing for adults to do as well. But obviously, if we start young people can think about the actual processes of thinking. And so that's tied up into, obviously, the growth mindset as well.
Thank you, Keith. Nadia or Carrie, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Yes, so at the beginning of this today, I was talking about effective lifelong learning skills, and this is something that I always start at the very beginning of the year, and this really helps with children's growth mindset, and it gives children a language to talk about their mindset as well. So effective lifelong learning skills there's 7 skills, and one of them would be being resilient and overcoming problems, and the character is a turtle. So children, we will create our own little turtle which they can hold, and they can talk about when they get stuck on something, and it just helps them to have a growth mindset, to know that they can overcome a problem. And we will talk about how we can resolve a problem, how we can get over it. And we also have other LE skills like being creative or linking our learning. So all these kind of LE skills and characters really help children to have a voice to explain when they are finding something they cannot do, or they sort of will stop in their learning. So we are always every day talking positively, saying, you're not quite there yet, but we will get there. So it's just really positive talk with the children, and they will start using this language daily. And now on my online learning, the children are coming back to me on videos and telling me which LE skills they're using, and it's really positive.
Carrie, thank you for sharing a specific example like that. And we'll leave the question with you for a moment, because as the director of the Early Learning Center, you're probably the best person to field the second part of the question about misbehavior. How will you handle misbehavior in children?
Well, we always start with creating our own classroom rules, so the children really take ownership of their behavior and what they feel other children's behavior should be as well. So they really understand, and we talk a lot about our sort of classroom rules. And like I said, I have the friendship potions, but that's an area specific in the classroom where children feel free to talk things through, and we'll do a lot of role play. We will also always, when children are doing something very positive, give them lots of reassurance and praise when they're doing something positive as well. So we always focus on the positive. And if there is negative behaviour, we give time for the child to process what's happened, and give them time to talk things through. And maybe we need to do some role play. And sometimes, often we talk to the parents about what's going on and keep everybody in the loop, including the other teachers that are working with those children as well, who might be having some difficulty. And sometimes it can be something that can be causing behaviour where they're hungry, or they're just feeling tired, or they're missing their parent that's gone away. So it's really important that we have these conversations with the children.
Thank you, Carrie, for that answer. Keith, you looked like you had something to add.
I was just going to quote the research on poor behavior among early learning center students, and it's very clear. Bad behavior among young students comes from their parents.
It certainly did in the case of our boys.
That's as far as my research went, just our own children.
Thank you for that. We do have a great question. Could we please hear a bit about what the forest school sessions might look like, and with some examples? I think that one starts with you again, Carrie.
Pleasure. Okay, so our forest school sessions are starts usually with a team game to get the children very excited. They love being in the natural environment and just to get a feel for the place that they're at. Then we will start maybe doing some bushcraft activities. The favourite is always den building, and there's always lots of investigation activities and problem solving activities as well. Also, we're learning about the plants in our area. We'll be doing lots of planting and finding out about different ways that we can help our environment. It's all part of the forest school ethos. We also might be using some tools, but all these things are brought in very slowly, and the children really know how to use things safely. Lots of health and safety, where children, I teach them exactly how to hold a certain tool and to make sure that there's space. So there's lots of rules which children really feel like they want to do it, so they listen very well because they love playing with them and creating, especially when we're with our carving knives. We will do lots of sensory walks. There'll be lots of climbing as well. So it's lots of fun, but also lots of learning, and we can bring in the curriculum easily into the forest. So we'll be learning. We can be doing science activities, maths, everything.
And Amy, I want to assure the concerned parents out there that all of the carving knives are made out of rubber.
All right. moving on, did I understand correctly that there would be a Montessori classroom of children ages 3 to 6 and separate classrooms that are not Montessori? Or are all classrooms a blend of Montessori and play-based approaches? So I think probably we need to clarify the comments we made about Montessori and how the Early Learning Center is configured.
Okay, so we will have Montessori teachers and mainstream teachers working together. We love the Montessori approach, and we will be blending the Montessori approach into our teaching. However, our classes will be separate ages, but the 3 to 6, so it's 3 to 6 in the whole of the Early Learning Centre, but we will have 3 different age classes. But we will be mixing when we're outdoors. When we go to forest school, we'll be all together. And when we're outdoor, in our outdoor learning, children might be at different ages. So there will be a mixture of, most of the time they will be in their year group, but there will be opportunities to mix with different ages.
Terrific, thank you for that answer. And I'm,
Amy,
yes.
I feel compelled just to add that we have a couple Montessori teachers in the group of 8. So it's not like we'll have a Montessori class and a traditional class. What we have are some Montessori teachers who are going to infuse some of the Montessori approach into our traditional classes at all levels.
Thank you, Keith. That's important clarification. And a mother writes, will there be much interaction with older siblings in other classes?
I can weigh in on that because I know the configuration of the building, but the Early Learning Center is really set on its own. So there won't be that much interaction except in places like the Learning Commons and probably in the playground. But we've also staggered the times of breaks it's difficult to have older students around really young students for a variety of reasons. And so probably not a ton except during some specified break periods, to be honest.
Can I suggest something that I've done before? We in IPS we developed a working reading buddies where we had older children come down to the younger classes to share reading activities, and it was a really effective way for all abilities to shine and support and extend, and that was something that we did over the years, and that was a really nice way of bringing the older children to the younger. That was just one suggestion, and that's what's exciting about being somewhere new.
I think that's a good point, Beth, and it actually resonates with our belief in reading aloud, which we've talked a lot about. I've written at least one blog on that topic. And so having older students read aloud to younger students and vice versa is a very effective way of building knowledge. And I want parents to understand that we're building this around the expertise that we have. We don't have all of our teachers yet resident in Portugal, never mind yet resident at our school. But these are the kind of people, impressive people with deep experience who are going to be crafting out some of the details of each of their programs.
Thank you, Keith. And we have a parent asking for a bit more clarification on ages. The question is, you've mentioned 3 to 6 years in the Early Learning Center. I thought pre-K was 4 to 5 and K 5 to 6, 3-year-olds. So I'm happy to clarify this. So pre-kindergarten, students begin as early as 3, but not before. Some might turn 4 in the younger class, so it would have 3 and 4-year-olds in it. The older section of pre-kindergarten would have 4-year-olds primarily, but some will turn 5 before the end of the school year. Kindergarten is traditionally for students who turn 5 just before September of the school year. And so you will also have students in kindergarten who turn 6 before the end of the school year. So the age range for the Early Learning Center, which includes 2 pre-kindergarten classes, and the kindergarten class is indeed 3 to 6 years old, meaning starting as early as 3 years old, but some turning 6 before they finish the school year and move on to the next year. So I'm sorry if there was confusion on that front. Hopefully that's cleared up now. And finally, Keith, I know you'll have some closing comments per usual, but we have a parent who said, our daughter, age 4, has struggled with all the transition that this year has brought. Any plans for supporting students dealing with these challenges? That's an excellent question. So, Bethan, I see you nodding. Would you like to kick us off here?
Yeah, that's something I've been thinking about a lot. Oh, sorry, I'm not live. Sorry, yeah, that's something I've been thinking about a lot, as I also have a young child. And obviously there's going to be gaps in the learning, and that's going to be for all of the children, and it's going to mean that we're going to have to up our differentiation even more so, to make sure that those gaps are closed. And yeah, we're in a very fortunate position in TASIS where we will have extra eyes in the classes, and extra support so that we can bridge those gaps and bring the children back, because this has been such an uncertain time for so many, and it's going to be a big move for a lot of children and for a lot of adults. So I think we're all in the same boat, and we'll all bring ourselves up to speed.
Thank you. Keith, I'm sorry about this, but I said that was the last question, and we've had a few fast and furious come in that I think are important ones. First, are children able to have a nap if they need it in pre-kindergarten? Carrie, would you please field that one?
Yes, sure. Yes, there will be an opportunity, because we feel, some children, when they're so young, they need that time to rest, to be able to learn. So there is the opportunity if they need to. We have arranged little day beds for them. It might not mean that they need a rest. Sometimes they just need a quiet lie down, a quiet place. But there is the possibility.
Perfect, thank you. And I will add that we have ordered super cute sheets for the little napping beds that even have TASIS crest on them. You can buy them in the school store if you want also. One question, that's an excellent one. It's lovely to see you all, I agree. We have quick questions. Some parents are moving from a British system, and we wonder if there are differences in the level of education and the associated grades. Do you expect any challenges for any of these students, our panelists? Carrie, I will field that to you since you're shaking your head vigorously.
It's very, very similar to the English system, especially learning the phonics. It's exactly the same. The maths will be different because we're doing Singapore, but that's just a positive, because Singapore maths will be helping all children be successful learners. It'll be very, very similar. And also the way that we structure the day, and also having that outdoor area, the free flow that the English system would have as well.
Thank you, Carrie. 2 more questions. Hello, I wanted to know, what are the plans for preschool children, just in case school does not open due to the pandemic and health matters? And so we talked about that a little bit last week in the Coffee with Keith on e-learning. So Keith and/or Carrie, Bethan, Nadia, I don't know, Keith, who you would like to address that question.
Well, as you mentioned, Amy, we talked a great deal about that. That was the entire focus of our session last week, but we probably didn't represent enough of the early learning centers. So maybe, well, any of the teachers can talk about what they're currently doing with their students in terms of e-learning right now. I know Carrie's got quite Carrie's driving the e-learning at her current school, so she's probably best equipped to talk about that, although any of them probably could.
Okay, hi, yes, so we're doing lots of interactive videos for the children to watch in their own time, setting lots of different challenges, investigations, things that they can do with their family. Also different types of learning that they can do, maybe when they go for a walk in the forest or to the beach. We're also doing lots of reading online. We're using a website where there's lots of online books where we can differentiate all the different children's learning, and we can send those and designate them to the children. We are meeting not too many meets because the children are very young, but we are doing occasional meets for children who want more, and then we have set meets as well, where we can meet with the children as a whole class or as a group. It's usually with the younger children, it's better to work in a small group, especially in their friendship groups as well. And then we'll do differentiated groups, and we'll have reading groups, so they get to see all their friends and all the different faces during the week. And with the children, then they will send us back their videos of their learning, and we will be responding through audio and sending messages back, using lots of emojis which they love, and they send. So it's constantly communicating back and forth during the day, and you really get a sense of what the children are doing, and just being very positive. And it's actually been for me, I've seen lots of growth. Children have been developing really well, and now we're actually back in the classroom, which is great as well.
Fantastic, thank you. Two final. Oh, go ahead, Keith. Sorry.
Did you also mention, Carrie? I think you mentioned to me that you have occasional meetings with parents online to liaise with them about their children's progress and any challenges that they're having.
Yeah. So I do meet with the parents a lot, and a lot of emails as well to the parents, and we will be having meetings now. We will be doing some Zoom meetings, or maybe now they can come into school, and we'll be having meetings now at the end of term, just to see how things are going. Because there are children who haven't been showing me their learning. However, the parents are telling me they are doing it. They're just not uploading maybe. So it's just really good to know how the children are doing, and for everyone to really understand the whole child and where they are at the moment.
And I would add that our Director of Studies, Andrea Velaz, who spoke last week about our instructional technology for e-learning, we recognize that not all parents are technically savvy and understand all of the different educational software and e-learning platforms. So Andrea has been working on finding the simplest solutions for us, for all of our students and parents.
Terrific. Thank you, Keith. So you'll, as parents, everyone will appreciate this comment. One mother wrote in, is Beth Bo's mother? I think I know her from swimming at Quinta da Marinha. So better known as Bo's mother, we maybe should have included that in your intro. And then Keith, as you know, our Ellen and Bruno are watching per usual from Germany, preparing to move to Portugal. And Ellen writes, she's sorry to tell you, but your research, Keith, is out of date. Only children's good behavior comes from parents. Their negative behavior comes from other people's children.
That's a good point, yes. And I'm delighted to see that Bruno's still spending no money to take his wife out on Thursday nights. So good for him.
Well, I will leave it here. We have lots of nice comments from people thanking our panelists, and I thank them as well for their time during what is still a busy school year and their busy lives as parents, etc., for taking time tonight to share their vision of the TASIS Early Learning Center. So lovely to see all of you tonight. Thank you.
And I'll just wrap up quickly. I realize that we're 3 minutes over time, but by the way, I have those TASIS sheets on my bed, and they're really great. So you might want to look into that. I did want to also pick up on a theme that was mentioned around the question was about growth mindset. Yes, thank you. The person who wrote that book, the groundbreaking book called Growth Mindset, Carol Dweck, a psychologist from Stanford University, has an important lesson in there for all of us, including parents, which is be very careful how you compliment your children. To develop a growth mindset, people need to understand that learning is difficult. It takes focus, concentration, effort. It involves failure. It's not, therefore, a good thing to say to your children, you're so smart, or you're so talented, because the research suggests that when you say that frequently to children, it actually inhibits them taking chances because they're afraid to disprove the theory that I'm so smart or I'm so talented. So keep that in mind. I actually think I wrote about that in a blog recently, but we'll come back and talk about that through the course of next year. Finally, I want to say, like Wikipedia, our team has been updating the TASIS Portugal website daily, so please check out any new resources and information, and shortly, our artist rendering of our new field, along with construction photos and video. And lastly, in case you'd like to do something different with your wife next Thursday, Bruno, we will not have a Coffee with Keith webinar. It's a national holiday, and we're actually giving people a great deal of time off so they can regroup. Our staff, our admissions folks, all the people that are working here at TASIS have been working countless hours, day and night and weekends. I exaggerate not a bit, including many of our staff who aren't even yet with TASIS, have been working together, meeting virtually, doing a great deal of research and adding to our academic program. So I want to make sure we honor that hard work and get people a rest before the onslaught of July and August. So we're encouraging everybody to take some time away. We hope you also have some time away and enjoy some celebration next week. We've had an exciting week. We had an enrollment goal at the beginning of this, before we even knew anything really about how this school was going to get launched in Portugal, of 150 students. We picked that number out of the sky and thought that would be a perfect number, since no TASIS school has ever opened with more than 100 students. We thought, well, we'll be 50% bigger. Wouldn't that be great? The reality is that we're going to pass that number very shortly, and we expect probably to be much closer to 200 students, which is good for everyone in the end, because it allows us to add more resourcing, but it also allows a critical mass in each classroom. And in fact, most classrooms will be full, as it turns out. So we're really excited about that, and we're really thankful for the welcoming that we've received in this community. And we'll see you on June 18th. We look forward to it. Thank you to our guests tonight, Nadia, Beth, and Carrie, and of course, Amy, as always. Have a good night, everyone. Take care.